Imagine waking up one day to a seemingly normal morning, only to find your child critically ill. In the heart of Soho, this was the eerie reality Sarah faced as dawn broke. The bustle of horses and wagons outside, the cobblestone streets stirring to life, all faded into a terrifying silence when she saw her baby, Francis, looking terribly sick. Panic surged through her veins like an electric shock. Her heart pounded in her chest as she snatched up baby Francis, her voice trembling with urgency as she implored her husband, Thomas, "Run for the doctor right now!" Dr. Rogers arrived, his face grave as he examined the child. His diagnosis? Summer diarrhea. He suggested home remedies, the old standbys, a spoonful of castor oil, syrup of rhubarb. Sarah followed his advice to the letter, washing the soiled sheets, caring for her baby, praying for a miracle. But as the day wore on, the harsh truth became clear. A spoonful of castor oil, syrup of rhubarb, Dr. Rogers suggested, but nothing seemed to help. The next day, death knocked on the door of the Lewis family. Little Frances, the baby who only the previous day was full of life, was now gone. Her parents, stricken with grief, could only watch as Dr. Rogers penned exhaustion after an attack of diarrhea 4 days previous on the death certificate. As the grim news spread, a shroud of silence descended upon Broad Street. The once bustling thoroughfare, known for its lively market and the constant chatter of townsfolk, was eerily quiet. The shops, usually overflowing with goods and customers, stood empty, their doors firmly shut. The water station, the heart of the community, was deserted. Not a soul was in sight. Even the curtains of the residents were closed, as if the entire street was in mourning. The vibrant life that once filled Broad Street was replaced by an uneasy stillness, the cobblestone paths echoing with the absence of life. Broad Street was a ghost town, its life extinguished by an invisible enemy. A few days later, a solitary figure broke the silence of Soho. The streets, once teeming with life, now stood quiet and still. Emerging from the shadows, a man approached the water pump. This was no ordinary man. He was Dr. John Snow, a man devoted to the study and eradication of cholera. For over 2 decades, John Snow had been grappling with this elusive adversary. He knew cholera was not a respecter of persons. It struck indiscriminately, and its weapon of choice was diarrhea. While his contemporaries attributed the disease to miasma, a noxious form of air pollution, Snow had a hunch. He suspected that cholera was not airborne, but rather something ingested. It made sense, considering the symptoms were concentrated in the digestive system. His encounter with the water pump that day was no coincidence. It was a calculated move driven by curiosity and a relentless pursuit of truth. Was it something in the water, or was it the foul air? Dr. John Snow was determined to find out. John Snow, armed with nothing but his beliefs and theories, was ready to battle the deadly cholera. Stepping into the eerie silence of Soho, he defied the unknown, confronting the invisible enemy that had claimed so many lives. Dr. John Snow was not your typical doctor. For over 20 years, he had been on the front lines, battling cholera, a formidable adversary. Unlike his contemporaries, he wasn't sold on the idea of miasma. This notion that a fog rising from rubbish was the cause of the disease. No, John Snow was different. He noticed something peculiar. Cholera caused diarrhea, a symptom directly linked to the digestive system. Could it be possible that cholera was something you ingested? An audacious theory indeed, but he was committed to proving it. Our tale takes a pause here, leaving us on the precipice of discovery. Will Dr. John Snow be able to solve the mystery of the deadly cholera outbreak? Stay tuned to find out in the next video.